We're going to continue with a really exciting discussion in a few moments. I'm Scott Bowman. I'm one of the co-founders of Twin and one of Rob's partners at Clareo. I want to begin by saying that the promise of artificial intelligence has been hyped since Alan Turing in the 1950s. But in 2016, when AlphaGo, Google's solution, beat Lee Sedol at the enormously complex game of Go and demonstrated that it was actually learning new moves as it was going, it sent shockwaves across the globe. Early evidence was that we were already crossing the digital Rubicon, as Rob would say. Today I'm going to be joined by Chae, co-founder and chief technology officer of Brightseed, a powerful company that is using artificial intelligence to illuminate and unlock nature's intelligence. Here's a sneak peek of what they're up to.
I think we underappreciate the role that plants play in our everyday lives. They give us food, clothing, fuel, materials, personal care, medicine. But all of this richness comes from less than 0.1% of plant molecules. Science doesn't know what the other 99.9% of these compounds do.
Traditionally, trying to generate knowledge out of plants is very hard. Plant genomes are incredibly complex. They can be double, triple, 8 times the size of human genomes. But at Brightseed, we know the one way to find better answers faster is advanced computation, and that's why we built Forager.
Forager is a computational intelligence that helps us illuminate the world of plant compounds at a much deeper level and at a speed much faster than human intelligence. We go around the world and source plant species and go through a systematic process of preparation.
We do finer and finer fractionations to try to capture as purified sets of compounds as possible. Then we feed them into Forager and generate data. The other component is we teach Forager decades worth of high-level biomedical research to take that information on plants and map it to the world of human biological systems and make those connections that we can't see.
It performs similar to a Google search engine. Instead of indexing the world's information and the world's websites, Forager indexes the information of plants and their compounds. You can search for a health benefit and go directly to a hotspot. Forager already found a bioactive compound that is critical for maintaining a healthy metabolism, and it did so 10 times faster than traditional research. In a matter of months, it has mapped hundreds of thousands of molecules. Soon, it will reach millions. We can, of course, apply those to health, but also many places in which we can benefit going from synthetics to naturals. It will transform industries entirely, even biology and how we think about the plant kingdom. And that, in turn, will transform human society for generations to come.
Chae, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Scott.
You bet. Simon Sinek urges us to start with the why before we talk about the what. Lee, what's your why? On a personal level, why did you found this company? And also, what's the why of Brightseed? What are the types of problems that you're trying to solve with Forager?
Yeah, thanks for bringing it to that level, Scott. I think that's all important in kind of the challenges that society obviously is facing today. And so for us, the whole purpose of Brightseed is to enable a healthier future by illuminating and activating really deep connections between people and plants. Yeah, so, I grew up in an agricultural region, Central Valley of California, so kind of plant life and plant sustenance has always been a big part of my reality. And I studied plants when I went to school. I got my PhD in plant science and artificial intelligence. And the idea is that plants have been a partner to humans ever since the dawn of humanity. We eat them for food. We eat them as medicines. We use them for fuel. We use them for protection in the clothes that they wear and that we wear in the homes that we build. So we're so tied to them that really, if you take them out of our diet, you're 3 times more likely to die prematurely than eating, the so-called bad stuff, fats, sugars, and red meat. But despite this deep relationship, we we truly only know less than 0.1% of all the richness there is in the plant world.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting, and it's an interesting build to a question I'd love to pose. You've talked about illuminating the dark matter of the plant kingdom. Yeah, so obvious reference to dark matter in the universe. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I just mentioned like we know less than 0.1% of all the richness of plants. So conversely, there's 99.9% of the richness of plants that we do not know. And we do know that they're explicitly tied to our health via our diet. But this absence of knowledge is what generally we call the dark matter of nutrition. And, and it's both an opportunity and a challenge. So there's so much there to explore and to utilize and to tap into to help human health. But since the dawn of humanity, it's been an unknown. But that's exactly why you want to use an artificial intelligence. And from Brightseed's side, we developed an artificial intelligence called Forager. And the whole reason that you apply AI is to make deep insights into phenomena that humans cannot make, and do it at a scale and a pace that humans cannot match, much like AlphaGo, learning the game of Go on the fly and beating the world champion.
So I want to get to Forager in a second, but I'm intrigued by this analogy to the dark matter of the plant kingdom. It occurs to me that sometimes ideas are a little bit ahead of their time. So the idea of dark matter, if I'm not mistaken, came from like the 1930s with an astronomer, Fritz Zwicky, I think it was. And it took until modern day times with the particle accelerator to really unlock the possibilities and the insights that we now have around dark matter. You have also had some fundamental technologies in artificial intelligence that are enabling this new possibility. Can you talk a little bit about the digital technologies that underlie Forager, and then we'll dive into what Forager is actually doing?
Yeah, I guess there are a couple analogies you can use. Really, seeing is believing is an old saying, and I believe just like the Hubble telescope, we knew that there are massive solar systems out there with many different types of stars and planets. But it wasn't until the Hubble telescope came about that we could explore that really the furthest edges of the universe. Much like back in the day when they were trying to understand the nature of genetics, and it was really based on DNA. And we did not know the structure of DNA, but what we were able to do is develop pictures essentially of depictions of different shadows of DNA, so to speak. It wasn't until you pieced it back together were you able to make sense and find the truth. So much like those applications, we've developed a technology that allows us to use advanced molecular instrumentation to generate a lot of snapshots of plants and their compounds, but most of it's noise, and that's where the artificial intelligence comes in, because it is so good.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. I'd love to have you just double click. What exactly is it doing? When you say mapping the plant kingdom and then being able to correlate it with what happens in the body, talk a little bit about the technology for a second.
Yeah, so I think the best way to think about it is the end result. So the idea is that we know that plants drive health in the human body. We have all sorts of orthogonal data that point that out, and studies over decades that prove that out. Sadly, the bad effects of not eating plants. But the idea is that with this technology, you're able to ask it a fundamental question. With any AI, there's a learning objective. And for Forager, the idea is, what plants contain what compounds, and which of those compounds drive human health, and understand it at the molecular level. That's kind of that high resolution that we're thinking about. And the idea is to do this at scale. So the end result is essentially a large map of the plant kingdom, the different compounds that different plants contain, and the different areas of human health, actually the pathways in our bodies that these track to. So you get an overlay of kind of the human system as well as the plant system. And with this map, we believe we can drive innovation in terms of health and via diet.
So that's super interesting. So where do you see this going? Is this like sort of becoming the Google or a search engine for anyone that wants to be able to understand the plant kingdom better and what it might be able to do in affecting a mechanism of action in the body? Is that the idea? You'll become the indexing, the search engine on which other people can develop solutions, or what?
Yeah, so we think the end result of this is really a complete high-resolution digitized library of the plant kingdom and all the health benefits that they track to. And once you put things in digitized form, that allows you to have scale. That allows you to have impact because you can move at a speed and a direction that you can't than you couldn't prior in terms of doing things one at a time or what you consider rifle shots. Here with this complete knowledge base, you're able to ask many different questions and find many different solutions from many different perspectives.
That's incredible. So, I mean, that's all super interesting and deeply important. Can you give us an example of, on a practical level, of what Forager's doing today? What are you finding? What are you learning? What has Forager been able to do today, or what do you think it will be able to do in the near term?
Yeah, actually, some exciting things are happening as of late. Well, one of the things that we asked Forager, we wanted to really test it. You know, our own version of the AlphaGo contest versus the champion. The idea was that you know, there's sadly a chronic disease epidemic upon us. Probably the leading area is diabetes, but what's following closely behind what people are saying are the next diabetes is fatty liver disease. It is something that pharma is chasing a cure for, has not found yet. So we thought, what better challenge than this? So we asked Forager, can you find us a natural compound from plants that might be a part of our diet and of helping those who are staving off this condition, but that in our kind of modern diet, we've lost it and are now susceptible to this. So in a matter of months, Forager returned a family of compounds from about 80 different plants that are already in our diet, including a number of them that are the basis of traditional medicines that we've shown in the laboratory and in other models to have an effect on fatty liver disease. And excitingly, just a few weeks ago, we started our first human study with it. And so, you know, what's fascinating here is that these foodstuffs have been a part of our diet, including the basis of traditional medicines, but no one understood that it was these compounds and this particular application where they could help. So again, it's kind of revealing the underappreciated, the unseen, this deep connection between plants and people in a way that enables a healthier future.
Wow, that's super exciting. In a sense, a return to food as food was meant to be, right? Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And you're making that happen. So I'd love to delve into something a bit more provocative. So food companies have often been taking the brunt of criticism from consumers, and they're thought of as the enemy of health in some sense. But I think you've articulated in the past that we're going to need food companies to scale our way out of these solutions. I'm wondering if we're conflating how we are processing foods with unhealthy processed foods. And the question maybe is, might we be able to see a next generation of manufactured foods, let's not use the word processed, but manufactured foods that actually do empower health? Do you see a future like that?
Yeah, well, you know what excites me most about what we're doing with Brightseed and the opportunity we have in this space, in this dark matter of nutrition, and the opportunity we have for a different future, is the idea that there are a couple. Well, let's think about A and B. So A, in prior times, you know, the food supply chain, the global food supply chain was really optimized in terms of providing calories and massively distributing calories, which in itself was a really important, you know, 80, 100 years ago. And it did this through, you know, optimizing on calories, optimizing on mass distribution and shelf life, really. Yeah. But now we have an opportunity where we can optimize on something different, something that will alleviate a great threat, and this is health. And so the idea with Forager, we're identifying plants that have a real molecular basis for human health. A lot of them already in our commercial crops and supply chain. And the idea is to partner with Big Food because they've solved another really hard problem, and that is infrastructure and the ability to produce and deliver at scale. So you imagine if you put those two things together, and this is what gets me most excited, is that it's actually tractable to have a massive footprint in terms of driving and delivering, you know, health through food across the planet.
Wow. Lee, I feel like we could talk to you all day long, but I want to ask you a closing question. I know you're a scientist, and scientists don't like making big, bold predictions, but let's just say that you're wildly successful at Brightseed, and we hope that you are. How is the world of food going to look differently 5 or 10 years from now as a result of what you're doing at Brightseed and in general, artificial intelligence's possibilities that it's going to bring us?
Yeah, provocative question, Scott.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a scientist, so I like to keep both feet on the ground.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, the idea is that if we do achieve this in terms of, and I think we will, the ability to make these fundamental discoveries of health in plants and deliver them as solutions across the globe, then I think you give yourself a fighting chance at solving one of the great challenges of humanity, and that is kind of the rise of chronic disease. So I would love to see us be able to make a dent in those numbers and bring them down, not through therapeutic medicines, you know, after the fact where we're intervening in a heavy disease state, but really treating people through diet the way we've always had in prior generations, and that is delivering health through good food, through the current food system, and making a dent in that problem.
Wow. The dark matter of the plant kingdom. Food is medicine. Illuminating and unlocking nature's intelligence through artificial intelligence. Lee Chae, we're grateful for everything you're doing at Brightseed, and we hope that you're wildly successful.
Thanks, Scott. And
Thanks
thanks
again
to Twin, for driving innovation in the world. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for being with us today, Lee.
Take care.